Welcome back, everyone. This is another episode of the Shannon Show. Just a few announcements before I introduce our guest. We hit 100 subscribers, which is, really cool. Appreciate all of you guys for doing that. And this is also the last episode of season 3, episode 30. So comment below who you want to see come in for season 4. Always looking for new guests is a really exciting thing for me to do. And with no further ado, I have every teacher's favorite and least favorite student, Abraham Schoolfield.
Hey, howdy.
How you doing, man? I really appreciate you coming on, and I wanted to get some background on you because I didn't know too much about you, but I know pretty interesting guy. So yesterday, I got some dinner with Max and Cami, some of your old friends from Okinawa, and basically just interrogated them for about 2 hours about everything that they know about Abraham Schoolfield.
Yeah, so what specifically do you want to know?
Well, I mean, I just wanted to hear like some things, like their perspective on you, and it just helps me formulate my questions a little bit better, just to make sure that I'm well prepared for these interviews. And I think that I'm off to a pretty good start. So let's start with just you kind of being a military kid. We met in Okinawa, in Kubasaki. Where were you before that?
So right before that, I was in Alexandria, Virginia. My dad was working at the Pentagon. We lived, Alexandria. I went to Mount Vernon High School. And then, we moved to Okinawa right after.
Gotcha. What was the move like for you to Okinawa? Was it like, have you lived overseas before that? Was it a big deal? What was the transition for you?
Yeah, so that was our first move, really, our first big move. It was really back
Yeah.
and forth between Virginia and North Carolina for our family. So then we were like, oh, we're going to Okinawa. And most of my family was like, oh, we don't want to do that. My dad considered retiring, but I was like, come on, when else are we going to get to live in Japan? And I put a little pressure on the family. We moved out there.
Yeah, I was very excited to move out there as well. Totally see where you're coming from. Was there anything that you did to prepare for that move, kind of like mentally going into it? Because you said you had to move too much before that. So was there anything that went into that process for you?
Yeah, so like I just said, I made a big deal about saying like this is gonna be really cool. When else are we gonna do this? I got excited about Okinawa, did some research, I started learning Japanese, and then when I got there, I was like, oh my gosh, it felt more like a vacation than a move, but just a really long one.
Yeah, whenever I talk to kids, whenever they say they do some research beforehand, it really helps get used to the new place, the culture, and the language. So that's awesome you were able to do that. And once you got there, you said it's like a vacation. Did it seem like that the entire time you were there?
I mean, looking back, it really, it was a great experience. It was a lot less stress than living in America. I just made the most of it. Just spent a lot of time outside. Just the weather there was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, all year round. It's absolutely beautiful there. Do you have a favorite memory just being on the island or something that you would do that was one of your favorites?
Uh, I'm sure, as you remember, we couldn't drive off base until we were 18. So I did
Yeah.
a lot of biking. So biking everywhere on at Okinawa was a lot of fun. Like biking home from school, biking to
Yeah.
school up that giant hill up. So I lived on Plaza by
Scooby, yeah.
yeah, up that giant hill. Even though that sucked, it was some of the best fun. Just
Yeah,
riding the bike around.
I made that walk a few times. It's not short. That's awesome you were to do that. I know a lot of teachers used to do that. Do you remember Mr. Beaver? Did you ever have him?
I did not.
Yeah, he would always be biking to school every morning in his tank top, and my
Mm.
bus would pass him on the way there. Great guy. Anyways, did you have a favorite food or restaurant there? I know a lot of people are like pretty particular about this. Did you have one of those?
Uh, Not one. I had a couple.
Yeah.
So I went to this one soba shop specifically called Daruma Soba. It
Mhm.
was right off Plaza. If you were leaving Plaza, you go left and like your head Kadena and you pass it on the
Yeah.
right. And then obviously Coco's, amazing, always good.
Oh, absolutely.
Level 3 spice, that was my go-to. And then this one burger place um, on the east side of the islands called Wolf Burger or Burger Wolf. That place, it's really good.
Good. I'm not familiar with the burger place, but absolutely Coco's. I was a little lower on the spice scale. I think I was like 1 or 2 guy, but I mean, everyone's different. I know some people would
Yeah.
go all the way up the ladder. Funny you brought up Coco's. Something Cammy said you guys had some sort of bet where she ended up having to buy Coco's for you, and she was expecting you just to get like like an entree or something, but you got an appetizer and then 2 bowls of curry or plates, I should say. What was going on there?
I don't think it was really a bet. I think she wanted help with visits homework, so I was like, okay,
Uh,
buy me Coco's and we'll do it. and I ate one normal serving of Cocos, just the standard level 3
Yeah.
chicken cutlet. And then we were there so long that I was like, I'm gonna get another. I need to.
She sounded disgusted when she was talking about it. I'm like, I think I'm on his side with this one. I mean, he took advantage of this opportunity. That's a funny story. So I want now Kubasaki in particular, very unique school, very unique place to go to school already, and I mean older building, very unique experience. What was your first impression of Kubasaki? Like first day of school, you get there, what are you thinking?
It's tiny. The
Yeah.
school, Mount Vernon that I went to, it was a 2,000 person school.
Hmm. Oh
I
wow.
like the freshman class was the size of Kubasaki. So I get there
Jeez.
and I'm just like, where's the rest of the school? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a smaller place. You got there, it was your junior year, was the first year you were there, correct?
Yeah.
Were there any teachers in particular that I know spent we were Miss Calvin's together. I don't know what your relationship was like with her, but was there any teachers in particular that were like helpful for you or any friends like transitioning on the island that made it easier?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would definitely hang out with Mr. Eastman, E-Man as I call him a lot,
Amen.
because there was only, I think it was 7 people in our physics one class, and
Yeah.
most of them were seniors, and they were all on the soccer team, and so the class was, he's the soccer coach. Soccer team was basically the whole class,
Yeah.
so it was really chilled out, and everyone got to hang out. So that's who I would think of the most that helped.
Did you play soccer?
I tried out. I did not make the team though. I played soccer when I was
Tragedy.
like in elementary school.
How's he gonna cut you after you're in his room all the time, like hanging out with
I
him? Like I
know.
thought there should be a bond there that was like uncuttable.
No, he kind of did it in a nice way though. He didn't just like it was weird. He, read off the list at the end of the last tryout
Hmm.
practice was like, "Hey, if I don't see your name, you're not on the team and all that." But before he did that, he like when I was like walking to get water or something, he was like, "Hey man, thanks for trying out, but you're a cool guy. You're just not good at soccer." He said it in a nicer
Jeez.
way, but basically he said it to me directly, which I appreciated.
Yeah, he's a great teacher. I had him geometry or something my freshman year.
Mm.
Good guy, and Miss Eastman as well. I'm sure you spent some time with her. You spent some time with JSHS, I believe. I'm pretty sure the year I did it, you were not a part of that group, but did you do it later on?
I did seminar,
Okay.
and I was gonna do JSHS, but then I was like, I don't really feel like doing this, so I
Yeah.
didn't.
So what was your seminar experience like? Because that's a pretty unique thing to Okinawa and Dodge specific, and a lot of people really enjoy doing that. What was it like for you?
That was a really fun trip. I think it was a week long, and we went up to Tokyo Scuba University.
Hmm.
Uh, my specific course, because we do like a college course for a week, it was artificial life, where we like learned about how they're trying to simulate life to figure out more about it, and that was fun. And the most memorable thing about that trip was these pancakes that me, Victoria, and Emily got. They were like,
Pancakes?
yeah, last day
Okay.
on the way out, we went to the mall before our flight to get food, but the mall's closed. So me, Emily, and Victoria walk like 5 blocks down the road and find this really like gourmet pancake place. And
Yeah.
it sounds weird, but like they were like this thick, like 2, 3 inches thick,
Like one pancake was that thick.
one pancake, and they had this
The
like
dummy
really
thick.
fancy, like yeah, really fancy like whipped cream like cooked into it. Oh man,
Best
best
pancake of your
pancake.
life.
Yeah, there's no
I would
telling me.
not going to Tokyo. I would not think a pancake place would be the place to look out for. But that's interesting. Another. But did you have a relationship with Mr. Coy? I know a lot of people thought very highly of him as a teacher. What was that like? Anything?
Yeah, I would talk to him. I talked with most of my
Yeah.
teachers after
Yeah.
school because I was like, why not? Uh, I wouldn't hang out with him as much, but
No.
I wouldn't care.
He's
I wasn't like afraid of him, if that made sense. There's like two
he's
kids at Kubasaki. You're either
absolutely.
afraid of them or friends with them.
That makes sense. I worked my way from one to the other. He's. I understand he's not the guy you necessarily want to hang out with. Anyways, if you were giving advice to someone moving to Okinawa, similar situation as you, what would you give them?
Embrace it. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid of moving there because a lot of people who complain about living there and talk about how much it sucks, it's because they're
Hmm.
still trying to live in America while they're in Okinawa. just
Mhm.
embrace that you're there because you're only going to be there for a few years and just make the most of it.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of putting it. I completely agree. Whenever you first get there, you're trying to like compare everything back to the stateside, and there's no point in doing that. I mean, I
Mhm.
remember walking through American Village for the first time. Like, there's nothing like America. It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Like, what was I expected? I'm not sure. But fun place. Definitely embrace it. Tell me a little bit about what you are doing now.
So right now I go to Arizona State University. It's
Hmm.
their one of the flags that they sell. I'm an aerospace engineering major. I'm
Awesome.
living in North Carolina with my parents because of Corona. I couldn't get on
Hmm.
campus, all this weird stuff. Um, and yeah, I think that's a good summary.
Yeah. So, what made you want to? Why Arizona? Did you have family there beforehand, or not really?
Uh, Not really any reason. It was honestly my backup school. Um,
Gotcha.
I originally was looking at Embry-Riddle for a flying
Hmm.
program, but then I looked at the tuition and it was ridiculous because it's a private school, all this BS. And
Yeah.
Arizona had a similar program, which I was initially going to do. But then again, I looked at the tuition. Apparently, it's a flight school and normal college combined. So you graduate and you're
Okay.
qualified to be an airline pilot, but you have to pay for flight school and college, which is twice the price. It was going to be like 50 grand a
Okay.
year, and I was like, I'm not doing that. And the classes were like, the first level math things, and I'm like,
Hmm.
I took calculus PC, with Milanovic. I think I can
Understandable.
take some higher classes.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I did a tour down at Embry-Riddle whenever I was going through my college search. I did a tour down there.
Mhm.
It's I mean Daytona is nice that you have the race car stadium, which is pretty cool, but
And
definitely smaller campus. It's
are you
much
talking
different.
about the Florida campus or the Arizona
Oh, I'm talking about the
campus?
Florida campus. Oh yes, I totally forgot they had another one that's in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally forgot. Yes, that makes more sense. I was like, wow, that's
Mhm.
very different locations for you. But okay, yes, gotcha. Forgot about that one. While we're talking about the college application process, you were doing it mostly while in Japan, correct? Because that's where you graduated high school. What was it like having to do it from there? You can't visit these schools necessarily. You're doing this all like whack time zone, all the, I'm guessing, applications. It's a little more difficult with your address and your situation. What was it like doing the college application process from overseas?
Well, I obviously didn't do it in America, so I can't compare them
Hmm.
too much. But I
Gotcha.
don't think it's really that different. The address
Hmm.
was annoying because you have to like specify it,
Yeah.
and that sometimes they wouldn't have APO. You have to California. It was a headache.
Yeah.
But the only thing that was annoying was doing interviews because I applied to the Air Force and Naval Academy, so I
Yeah.
do some interviews, and those were live, and it was like 10 a.m. in Texas. And then there, I don't know if we use Zoom or Google Meets, but I call in and it's just like pitch black outside, and they're like, "Oh, hello there."
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Speaking about your graduation, what was graduation like at Kubi? I know with COVID and everything, it probably threw that a little bit off. What was graduation?
Well, I'll kind of start with like when school got out.
Yeah,
Basically, we got spring break, and I'm sure it was the same for you. They just said, "Hey, we're gonna extend spring break,"
yeah.
and they just kept extending it. And then I don't think we ever went back to campus after spring break. And then
Jeez.
they did a graduation, and it was a drive-through. Everyone drove in their cars. You'd
Hmm.
stop. It was nice. They had like a red carpet. You walk up, get your diploma, get back to your car, and
Hmm.
then afterwards at Zuccorin, they had a food place set up, like a barbecue type thing.
Oh, that's nice at least. That definitely was worse for certain places. How bad was COVID in Oki? Because I know, like, I heard some things that wasn't that bad, and it was interesting the reaction.
Um, it depends on what you mean by bad. Do you mean like how
I guess
bad
that
were the
makes.
lockdowns, or like the actual virus spreading?
Do, I would say the virus spreading because I know in the States it got out of the hand in a lot of places very quickly. If you just compare
Um,
those at all, if you have any reference, I'm not sure. If you don't, you don't.
I think the actual spread of the virus and people getting sick was a lot
Hmm.
better
Yeah.
because I mean the military bases immediately like shut down once America
Hmm.
started doing it. So there's a lot less Americans out, and then Japan also had their own restrictions, so it wasn't too bad
Yeah.
for the
Didn't they say
virus.
you guys couldn't eat out anymore?
They said that, and those were pretty loose rules.
Jeez. Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying.
No, it's totally fine. Let's talk about flying now. I know you mentioned you were interested in that, and if I'm correct, you did get your pilot's license. I saw that post of yours. What was that process like, just learning to fly, and when did you start?
Um, so when I like started for the first time, when I first
Yeah.
ever manipulated the controls of an airplane was probably like in fourth grade or so. Um,
What?
because my dad's a pilot and he would
Yeah.
fly us around a bunch and he would give us like flight lessons. And when I was younger, they were just like, hold the controls and do a little turn, nothing serious. And
Sure.
then I think
Nothing serious.
sophomore year of high school, I was getting back into it a little more serious. I was like actually really flying. I was doing most of it by myself and he was just backing me up. And then moving to Japan, we kind of got set back. Junior year, I didn't fly at all.
Okay.
Then senior year, while in Okinawa, I flew a bunch at Kadena because they have an aero club there.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. You had to fly the Cessnas they have, which are these a Cessna. Those are like the clown plane looking things. The high wing,
Sure. Yeah.
single prop, all
Mhm.
that, and they were modified to burn diesel, which is jet fuel. So
Mhm.
they would use the old fuel from the jets to save money on the gas, because they were Air Force planes.
Perfect. Yeah.
But yeah, I flew with my dad most of the time because he was a flight instructor. And then when I left Okinawa, I wasn't a pilot yet. I did the last few things here in
Yeah.
Wilmington and then got my pilot's license. And right now I'm working on my instrument rating and multi-engine rating.
And what will that let you be able to do? Is there any like more moving up in this process?
There's a lot more to
Gotcha.
move up in. Because obviously, me and a real bona fide airline pilot have a lot of different training levels.
I would hope so. That's fine. That was my point.
Because to be a private pilot, which is what I am, what that means is you are allowed to fly you and at most of five other people in a single engine airplane VFR. VFR means with not in clouds, visible.
Hmm.
And you can't do it for hire. So if I flew six other people or five other people, six total, I would have to pay a sixth of all the cost. I can't be paid. I can't pay less than that because then I'm basically being paid, and I'm
Okay.
not to that point yet.
Why can't you get paid? It seems like you have the skill. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Because they don't want someone to become a pilot after flying. So you only need 40 hours. That's how much you need to
Oh,
learn how to drive. It's not that much. They don't
okay.
want me flying packages for someone or someone around and around. So that just
Hmm.
wouldn't be safe. However, once you get to 100 hours, you can take the commercial pilot check ride,
Hmm.
and then once you're a commercial pilot, you can start getting paid.
Yeah,
So
and so
it's another step.
go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, so what's your goal? What's your end goal with this? What are you looking to do?
My end goal depends on how far you're looking out. For
Hmm.
general aviation, which is just flying, on my own, would be get commercial, which means I get paid. Instrument, which means I can fly in clouds or when I can't see the horizon. And then
Okay.
multi-engine, which means I can fly with more than one engine.
Hmm.
Those are the current goals right now.
That's really cool stuff, man. That's awesome that you've been able to do that. Was there anything like challenging in this process? I mean, you said you had some experience, but was there any hurdles for you?
I think the hardest part was being able to start flying again while in Japan
Yeah.
because it was a really weird process. And I can't lie, I got really lucky with my dad being an instructor
Hmm.
because in Okinawa right now they only have I think four flight instructors and they have a lot of people who want to learn how to fly.
Hmm.
They just don't have enough instructors to be able to fly with the people. And then my dad was like, "Hey, I'll just fly with you." And then I don't have to worry about having to schedule with all the instructors. I mean, I did a few times, but made it a lot easier.
Yeah, so all these people learning to fly in Oki, these are just like high school kids or other people living on the island?
I think there's a few high school kids, but most of them were, I think, enlisted Air Force
Hmm.
or Marines who just wanted to try flying.
Gotcha. And so how many hours do you have now total just flying on your own?
Uh, I'd have to get my logbook, but I'm a
No
little
problem.
shoot. I think I'm over 100.
That's awesome. Yeah. And what's it like being up there? I mean, just I'm sure the view's incredible. What do you like about it, like actually flying?
Uh, I don't know. I like going fast, and flying's really cool.
Good
Um, but the first time I
enough
flew
reason.
solo the first time I flew like totally by myself, which was at Kadena.
Yeah.
It was just really crazy because it's a small plane and there's usually a dude sitting right next to you. I
Mhm.
took off and I looked to the side and I'm like, there's no one else here. Like,
Yeah.
I could crash and die and that'd be my fault. No one could stop me. Like,
It's probably
I
not
mean,
the mindset you needed.
but I was just like shocked. I was like, I'm like, what the hell? I'm just by myself in the air and I'm not
Yeah.
allowed to drive off base. Like, what the hell?
This is crazy. That's a weird way of putting it.
Yeah.
Have you ever ran into any issues while in the air?
Um, a few things, nothing super serious, stuff
Hmm.
that could have been serious, and not really anything by myself. When me and my dad, and I think my brother was in the back, we were flying from North Carolina, where I am now, to Texas, and we were going through some weather
Nice.
and nice and high, and we started getting ice, which is not good because it messes with the aerodynamics of the plane. And basically, if you do nothing, you'll just fall out of the sky. Not fun stuff.
Not fun.
So we had to do an emergency descent from 11,000 feet to 5,000 feet and basically power to idle and dump the nose. And man,
Yeah, that sounded crazy. Were you flying at the time, or was it your dad?
I was flying. I mean, that was my first time seeing ice, and my
Hmm.
dad coached me. He was like, no, you have to go down quicker than that. Because I was used to like,
Jeez. Yeah.
gentle descents, like make the passenger,
Hmm.
comfortable. And he was like, no, you got to dump it and just get the fuck down.
Gotcha. Yeah, so if you were giving advice to someone, once again, more advice, someone who wants to learn how to fly, something that you wish you would have known sooner, I guess, is what I'm asking. Anything like that?
Can you say again? Like
Was
what
there
kind
anything
of?
you wish you would have known sooner before you started learning how to fly?
It's a real time commitment. That's something. I mean, you need literal hours in a logbook, but
Yeah.
the time it takes, not just flying, you have to be able to schedule it with somebody. You have to get to the airport. You have to pre-flight,
Yeah.
debrief. There's just a lot more than flying, and it's gonna suck for a while, but you just gotta keep doing it and get through it.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I already said, awesome that you've been able to do that. One more thing that I want to talk to you about that I mentioned once again yesterday with some of your old friends was you had a boat in Oki. I just thought this was really cool. And they said you would just go out to an island and they said you would like bury shit out there. And I was like, wow, I have to ask them about this. This is just one thing I needed to know. How, why? What was going on?
So when I lived in Virginia, the people across the street, they just kind of threw an old boat on the side of the road, like when someone throws a mattress out, same kind of
How
thing, just threw it
convenient.
out
Yeah.
there. And
Boat.
it was a Zodiac, like an inflatable boat,
Oh, yeah,
a
yeah.
small one. And me and my dad were outside, and he was like, "Is that a boat?" And I was like, "Maybe." We brought it over into our yard, inflated it, and we saw that there were holes in it, and like we can tell why they're throwing it away.
Yeah.
But we were like, it won't be too hard to fix this. So we started fixing it. The neighbors saw it, and they brought me the title to the boat and just signed it over to me because it was a registered
How
boat in
convenient.
Maryland. So I got the title to a boat,
Perfect.
and then I'm like, "Hey, we're moving to Okinawa. That's a tropical island." And I got my
Yeah.
boat ready, patched some holes in it, tested it in the Potomac. We bought a motor, I think in DC. Patched
Mhm.
up, brought it to Okinawa, and I went to Hamahiga, and I just kind of went out and went off to this island off the coast called Okibaru, and
Mhm.
I went there a couple times. It's pretty cool. I think the Marine Corps used to use it for training. There's like
Yeah.
blanks on the ground everywhere. There's a little landing pad type thing. I found a shrine on that island, found a well, a bunch of stuff. And me and my brother one night went out there and stayed the night on the island, which was pretty fun.
Jeez, yeah,
That
that's
that
awesome.
trip, that was a crazy trip. Because are you familiar with like how the east side of Okinawa looks?
Uh, yes, I have a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, like where that big red bridge is, and there's like a string of islands that kind
Yes,
of go
yeah, yeah, yeah.
northeast.
Hmm.
We went to the furthest one we could and
Hmm.
launched there just so we could have a longer trip on the
Yeah.
water, just like 30 minutes one way.
Yeah,
This way, it would be like an hour and a half, which makes it more fun as part of the adventure.
of course.
But I'd never done that before, and we ran into a couple problems. The first one was about halfway there. There was this reef that went out off the coast of one of the islands, and it was low tides. The reef was about 6 inches or so above the water. And then I was like, okay, we can just go around it, go in the open sea. This time it's actual open water, not protected. And we tried that for about 5 minutes, and the waves were so big that like we would be inside a wave. Like we'd be between two waves. It would be you couldn't see the horizon. The wave would be over you. So we were like,
Yeah, this is a
that's
small
not gonna
boat.
work. Yeah, I think it's about 9 feet long. So
Yeah,
not
that's
too big.
nothing in between the waves. How did you get out of it? How did it end up?
We just did a U-turn and went to that reef, and we ended up taking all of our stuff out of the boat, taking the motor off, deflating it, or no, we didn't deflate it. We just lifted it up, and we carried the boat, our stuff, and the motor across that reef, which was about 1 kilometer long, which took forever.
Yeah, but did you end up making it to where you were?
Yeah, then we made it to the water, got everything ready, launched again. And as we're getting there, the tide's coming in. So it's kind of like our stuff is starting to float away. So, we're like, oh, we got to get going. And then we're going, seems like smooth sailing. I hit the propeller on a rock and I break the shear pin, which basically is like the clutch for the boat. It prevents you from destroying the engine, but it makes it to where the propeller won't work. So we had to take off the motor, pull it in the boat, and then I had to replace the shear pin, then reattach it, all while there's pretty big waves going around. Our anchor's not quite holding us still, and we're just kind of drifting there. But then we get that fixed out, get to the islands, cook some dinner on a fire, and stay the night there. We could see the Milky Way. It was pretty awesome.
That is awesome. I mean, those are the type of things that you just like dream about doing in Okinawa like that. And I'm glad that you definitely lived it to the fullest while you were out there. What was your brother have any concerns, or is he pretty easygoing with all this? Because he seems like quite the experience.
He's usually a pretty mellow guy, but he was not. That was like one of the few times I've seen him not be mellow, and he was like actually freaking out. I was like, "This is fine. I've done this before. I can figure it out." But he was like freaking out, like especially when I was literally took the motor off while we're floating over like
I'm sure
15 feet of water. Like if I would have dropped it, we were basically screwed. We had paddles, but that sucked.
Yeah.
And then I got that motor on and all that. The whole time he's like holding, just staring at the anchor. He said that's like the most scared he's been in a while. But once we got to the island, though, it was nice, and we did not go back the same way. We kind of took a shortcut, landed on a different island, and our mom helped move us around, get our car back.
Perfect. Is there any other experiences do you like to share like that? Because I mean, those are a great story.
One other cool thing I did is on Plaza. There's this. Have you been to On Plaza before?
Yeah.
Like right by the front gate, there's that big, like, those big ditches they have.
Yeah, they're
stone
huge.
things. Me and Matt Steele, Air Force. He went to Kadena.
Yeah, I know.
We put on some scuba boots, went in the ditch, and just started walking because it wasn't fenced off at the gate.
Yeah.
And we walked like a mile just down this creek, and it turned into a real creek. And there were like points where like there were these walls down there. We slid down, had to climb back up after. It was just a really cool thing.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Obviously, very adventurous guy. That's a lot of fun. Would you ever go back to Oki? And you would, yeah.
Yeah, I'm planning on going back this winter.
Awesome.
Assuming I can travel.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big question mark for everyone. Well, Abe, this has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, telling us some of your favorite stories from Okinawa and Kubasaki. This is, love to have doing my podcast and talking to guys like you. So thank you very much. And I'll keep you posted with my upload process. Might be up tonight. So thank you.
It's the Shannon Show, Shannon Show, the Shannon Show, Shannon Show, the Shannon Show.